Hello everyone. So one of the main reasons I was so excited about getting the A500 Mini was to have the opportunity to play this game again. This is my all-time favourite game that I ever played on the Amiga 500. It's called Lords of the Rising Sun, and it's from Cinemaware. And this isn't a game that would appeal to everyone, but it ticks all the right boxes for my personal preferences. Really great strategy game set in a period of history that interests me. In a way, it was a kind of precursor of Shogun Total War, if you're familiar with that game on the PC. But obviously a lot more basic than Shogun, graphics wise and so on. But essentially, you're moving armies around on a map of Japan and interacting with the map at various locations, and also interacting with other armies that are moving around on the map with you. So what I wanted to do was to make a video showing you some of the gameplay. If you're going to play this on the A500 Mini using the WHD load package that's on that, then I'm also going to give you some sort of instructions on how the game actually operates, how the mouse clicks, and how you play the game, how you use the mouse, and the various options that are open to you in the game. And I've already filmed or not filmed, video captured a game that I've played. I have played this game several times now on the A500 Mini, just on my own without capturing the image, the gameplay, and that's been great fun and quite successful. But unfortunately, there are a few glitches on when I actually came to capture it for this YouTube video. The first was that I was having audio issues, and I've managed to fix that now, so the audio quality is a lot better. But at the start of the game, the first hour or so of the gameplay, I'm not going to show you the whole gameplay, it was about 7 hours long, but at the start the audio quality wasn't very good, so I'm going to probably ditch that and recapture the opening sequences and then just take you around the map and so on and show you basically what the game is about, and then skip to the later gameplay when the audio quality is quite good to show you the various scenarios and interactions that you get in the game. And then the other glitch was a bit more annoying. I'm not sure whether it was a glitch in the original program. I never had this problem years back, or whether it's a fault with the way it's been placed onto WHD load. But there is one incident that can occur, it tends to occur towards the end of the game, where your character can be attacked by a ninja, and there's a really fun part of the game where you're trying to hit these throwing stars that the ninja is chucking at you with your sword. And if he manages to get through, then your character dies. But that seems not to play in the game that I'm playing at the moment. The screen just freezes. So whether that is a fault with WHD load, or whether it's just something that was a problem with this particular game I was playing, because if you hire a ninja and the ninja's attack fails, then the general that hired the ninja is obliged to commit seppuku. And in the game, I was very close to the end of the game, and there was only one enemy general left on the board. So that would have meant that he would have ended his life, and I was effectively close to winning the game anyway. So whether it was, if you see what I mean, whether it was a glitch in the original package or not, I don't know. But anyway, onto the game. So first thing up, I'm gonna just play the opening credits for you. Okay, so this sort of opening captions just giving you a little bit of the historical background to the game. And to get out of this screen now, all you have to do is left click with your mouse, and you're now given a choice of which character. Basically there are two brothers, Yoritomo and Yoshitsune, and you have a choice of which character you're going to play. I've noticed the game plays slightly differently if you play Yoshitsune, and I do prefer the way Yoritomo plays, and he was the historical character that actually did become shogun at the end of the Genpei Wars. But if you wanted to play Yoshitsune, all you have to do is drag the mouse, so I'm pushing it upwards now, and you see that Yoshitsune's name is now highlighted in red and his eyes are open. But I'm going to drag the mouse back down again until Yoritomo's there, left click, and we've selected him. So you get these sort of bamboo framed descriptions of the current situation, and at the start of the game you're actually at your home fortress of Kamakura. So we can left click there, and this is the screen that you're given at the beginning of the game. It's very similar to the other screens that show during the game, but it's slightly different in that this is your home fortress of Kamakura, so the music is slightly different. Now you're controlling a cursor in the shape of a wand or a fan rather, and you've got down the left hand side you've got various options. You can review your troops, which actually isn't a great deal of use, but I'll just go into it. There is another way of assessing your army's strength, but let's review the troops just to show you that. So left click on that. so you can see the number. We're at full strength at the moment. You can see the number, but if you want to know the troop's strength, then you click on the general and he will shout a number of times depending on how strong your army is. So he gave 5 chance, so that's showing you that it's at full strength. But as I say, there's a better way, or an easier way of assessing your strength during the gameplay. So we come out of that. And then down the left hand side of the screen you've got the option here to enter your home. You have an indication of how strong you are there, or how many battles you've won, in terms of the bands that are on the sword. Equally, if I just skip down to here, this is how good your archers are at the moment. So not very good at fighting or at archery, or this one here is at besieging castles. They're all pretty average ranks. You can get much higher than that. You get up to 5 bands, 5 arrows and 5 markings on the castle there, so you can be a lot better at all those skills which you need to acquire. And here, this is the other significant one here. You've got 4 spaces here that can be filled with these sort of decorated insignia. So at the start of the game, Yoritomo starts off possessing one of those, they're called regalia, imperial regalia, and the Minamoto clan possess the shrine of Hachiman, so you start the game with that, but the part of the object of the game is to find the other 3 regalia. 2 of them are actually in Kyoto, and you have to visit the Emperor, and if your performance in the game is of a high enough standard, then he will present you with one of the 2 regalia that he possesses. One of them is a sacred sword and the other is a sacred scroll. But equally, if the Taira clan, the enemy, are doing well, then they can do the same thing, so they can deprive you of those regalia. And in the Taira's possession is a princess who you have to rescue from the Taira's castles, and that's quite hard to do, as you'll see later in the game. But if you manage to rescue her, then you fill the 4th space up there. So while we're here in Kamiko, I'll just go into the home just to show you this screen, which is not something that you commonly use during the game, but just to give you an indication of what it's like. Okay, so you've got a council room, and basically there aren't many options to you here. One of them is to commit seppuku, which is basically to end the game, admit defeat. And as I said earlier, you're obliged to do that if you hire a ninja to assassinate one of the other clan leaders. So I could hire a ninja to assassinate my own brother, to assassinate Mori, who's the head of the Taira clan, Shizuka, who is a Ronin, Tsunemori, who is also a Ronin, and Takeda, who is also a Ronin. Now, the Ronin, you can, if you encounter their armies on the map, you can try and persuade them to join you, to ally to you, in which case, if they agree, then you take over control of their armies. But these colours here are indicative of how favourable they're likely to be to you. So Shizuka, or anyone with the black spots on their banners, are likely to be favourable to Yoritomo, Tsunemori or any of the Ronin armies that have got white spots on their banners are likely to be favourable to Yoshitsune, and Takeda or anyone with red spots on their banners are going to be favourable towards the Taira clan. So basically, as you gain success and prestige, the Ronin are more likely to agree to be your ally, but that's reinforced by the fact that they have predispositions to particular clans anyway. So we're going to have more chance in the game playing Yoritomo to recruit Shizuka as an ally or anyone with a black spot on their banner. So let's carry on with the game by leaving home and show you the map. So you just click anywhere, it says prepare to march, so you just click and it takes you to the map. Okay, and here we are on the map. So the Yoritomo has himself, this is him here in Kamakura, and there are two other armies. In order to find out their details, you right click with the right hand button on the mouse, so that brings you up a description of Yoshinaka, who's one of your generals, and this bar here is how many troops he currently has in his army, and if you stay in one of the fortresses, you just saw it go up slightly there, so he's recruiting more forces to his army. So that is the way you increase your strength again, and this is the actual strength of those troops. So if they get fatigued, that will drop, and the more fatigued they are, the less able they are to fight and so on. You can come out of that by left clicking anywhere on the map, or if you left click on the centre between the two bars here, it will take you to wherever that general's position is, if they're stationary, not if they're travelling on a road. So Yoshinaka is currently in Maebashi, and this is the screen similar to the one that you had at Kamakura if you're home, but it's slightly different. And because it's a friendly city, we're not trying to besiege it or anything, there aren't any options to demand that fortresses surrender or attempt to besiege it, so we can just come out of that. Let's just give you an idea what the screen's like. And the other general you have is Miura, the same thing, so I won't go into that again, just to show you that. So you'll notice that a lot of the fortresses have banners on them. So this is Yoshitsune's armies, and he controls these fortresses here. You can see he's on his way towards Edo here, which doesn't have a banner on it. And at the beginning of the game, there are a number of fortresses that are vacant, so you want to grab those as quickly as you possibly can, and the way you do that is to hold the mouse over the banner of one of your armies, left click and it will come up white, and then move it, drag it across to the destination you want to go to, and release the mouse, and your general will start off. I'm not trying to win this game at the moment, so I'm not particularly worried that Yoshitsune is probably going to win the race, or he may win the race to Edo. Doesn't matter anyway, because he's your brother, he's likely to be friendly towards you and not try and capture any of your fortresses at the beginning anyway. It's just he's heading for this vacant one. So I'll just let this run, but this is only a small segment of the map. I'll show you how you scroll around the rest of the map in a moment. But when Miura gets to Edo, it will tell you down the bottom of the screen here, and you can right click on his figure left click in the center there, and it now tells you that Mura is outside Edo. And in this particular case, if you hold the fan over that part of the banner there, it will tell you down the bottom of the screen that you're requesting an alliance. So if you now left click, it says they will be our allies. Now that means that you now have a banner on the castle and it's yours, but sometimes all it will say is they will let you stay, in which case that's no good to you because someone else can come and take the castle. So you would need to siege the castle, which you do by holding the fan over the bottom there, and then it will say siege castle, and that takes you into some of the gameplay which I'm going to show you later. So we can left click off there, go back to the map, and now you can see there's a black banner over Edo, so we own it. So one of the other armies is just about to arrive too late in Edo, and it says Mura encounter. So again, if you right click again on the banner and then left click in the middle there, it gives you this encounter screen, and there you are confronting this army. Now you have various options. You can offer to form an alliance, but they actually want to pass unhindered. So you could, by holding the fan over the sword, engage them in battle. We don't want to do that, so we just continue the march because we want to keep Yoshitsune on our side and friendly towards us for the beginning of the game. You want to concentrate on defeating the Taira. And that's basically how the main part of the map works. So just to show you how you use the rest of... Oh, here we go. Let's show you Yoshinaka is at Nagano. So again, right click on and then left click in the middle. And this is the scene that you get when you approach cities rather than fortresses. So again, you have various options. You can request an alliance, but the chances are that they won't want you in the city. But let's see what happens. Yeah, they do not want us here, so we're just going to take the city anyway. And then having got the city, you won't be able to recruit extra troops there. You can only do that in your fortresses, but you can stay there and improve your strength. So that's a pretty straightforward way of acquiring a city, but the fortresses you actually have to play a sort of an arcade game in order to besiege them. And you can see there that this army here, Sataki, has managed to capture that fortress. Mura has now been is now encountering one of the Ronin armies. Oh no, he's not, beg pardon. Let's come out of that again. I'm going to show you the battles later on anyway, so it doesn't matter if we don't play that now. Just to show you around the map before I jump to later in the game, or later in the game that I recorded earlier. You left click on these dolphins or porpoises or whatever they are, and it takes you along the map, and you can see the map is huge. It's the 3 main islands of Japan, and you've got all these armies wandering around, and the object of the game is partly to get as many of the regalia as you can, but the game ends either with your death or when you control all of the fortresses. and there are something like 26 of them, and they're not easy to capture. Okay, so I'm going to come out of this game anyway now and take you to the gameplay that I captured earlier. Right then, so we're now 56 minutes into the game that I played, and we've made quite a lot of progress across the map, as you'll see, but at the moment we're looking at Yoritomo's presence in city, or the fortress of Nagoya, and you can see, yeah, is that flashing there where the cursor is pointing? That's Nagoya, and he's just encountered one of the Taira who are besieging Nagoya. So this is an example of how you can defend a fortress. If you've got an army in a fortress and it's attacked, you can actually interact and defend the fortress. So this is testing your archery skills. Basically, this is very simple. If you hold down the left mouse button, an arrow, you draw an arrow to the bow, and then if you release the left mouse button, it does that, shoots the arrow, and you've got to hit all the little men running at these walls. There are basically 2 sets of walls, and the troops can sort of cross over them at any point, and any that actually get over the second wall will fight the troops that you have in your garrison. So if you've got a strong enough garrison, it means that you can probably successfully defend the fortress anyway. But if you're particularly weak, then you've got to be pretty good at getting as many of the attackers killed before they actually get into a fight with your own troops. I'm not doing too badly here, managing to kill quite a lot of them. And when the enemy general crosses over the screen like that, it's either because he's called off the attack, which he has in this case, or because he's going to order another wave of attackers in. And there you are, you can see that I successfully defended the castle. And just clicking to, so you can see Yoritomo has been a bit weakened by that, but Kiyomori, who was the attacking general, has hardly got any troops left. So he's, if you can see on the map there, just above the cloud, he's left Nagoya and he's going to recover. Now, Yoshinako has got to a monastery, the monastery of Midera, so I'll just show you that screen. All the monasteries are sort of refuge for everybody, so you have to ask for assistance, but they'll never turn you down. So you can see there the monks have agreed to assist. It should say on the subject of the map as well in the screens that the map will change colour according to the season of the year, so it's sort of bright green in the summer but a sort of dull brown in the winter, and it will actually fatigue your armies more to travel in the sort of seasons. Here you can see Miura's reached Okazawa, and he's trying to get an alliance, but they don't want him there, so he's just taking the city. Yeah, so the map changes colour, it's quite clever, and your armies will be more fatigued walking or marching along the roads in the winter than they will in the summer, And also you can see there are clouds, so there are cloud effects going across the map that obscure parts of it from you. And the other thing I didn't mention is that you can travel by ship as well from various places. Any of the cities or fortresses that have a sort of jetty on the coastline, you can travel to an adjacent equivalent. You can't go right the way from, skipping destinations, but you can go from one to the other. That does seem to fatigue you more than travelling along the roads, though. But obviously, it's the only way you're going to get from one island to another. So things are going pretty well. I've managed to. I've sort of already captured quite a lot of fortresses, and I've fended off that siege. So what I'm going to do now, I've decided it's time for Yoritomo to visit Kyoto and see if he's performed well enough for the Emperor to give him one of the imperial regalia. Before I do that, actually, Yoritomo is just encountering another one of the Taira generals. You can see how his strength has recovered quite quickly by remaining in that fortress. I've just gone straight for engaging Kiyomori in battle. There's no point in messing around with the Taira, and you can see they're very weak. Now the battles are a bit naff. Basically, you use the cursor. It starts off as an arrow, and that's controlling the archers. If you left click with the arrow, the troops will move towards the cursor. But the best thing about the battles is if you right click once they've retreated. If you left click on the enemy general, you come into this screen here where you're chasing down the enemy general in an attempt to kill him. And basically, this is just a rolling screen, and the horse is galloping along. And if you right click, you cut to the right. If you left click, you cut to the left. And the idea, you have to be pretty accurate. But the idea is to kill as many of the troops as possible, and then eventually you'll get the general who's come off his horse, and you have to try and kill him. But at the same time, you've got to avoid all the rocks and trees and obstacles and so on. If you ride if you ride a soldier over, he'll scream, and you can only really afford to do that a couple of times before your horse will fall. But if there's blood on the sword, that means that you've managed to kill an enemy soldier with a sword cut. And eventually, if you manage to stay on your horse long enough and you've got enough strength, and you kill enough of the enemy soldiers, then you come across this. And the best thing to do is just ride your horse straight into the general. It's really hard cutting to the left. So you'll often ride past him without killing him. So there we are, managed to kill Kiyomori, which is another sort of enemy off the map, as it were. One less foe to worry about. I'll just go back to the map now. Yeah, I didn't have much time to explain the controls for the battle. It's telling you there that Kiyomori was killed, and now I reckon I've done enough for Yoritomo to go to Kyoto and visit the Emperor. But there's another battle coming up in a moment, and I'll explain a bit more about the controls for that. So there's a Ronin called Shigemori, who is approaching Nagoya from the sea, and Yoshinaka's reached Gifu, so I want to take control of that. And that's Kyoto there, where I just directed Yoritomo to go. It'll give you an example of what happens when you visit the Emperor. Directing Yoshinaka back towards the right hand side of the screen. North is kind of to the right in this game because of the way the islands of Japan are laid out. It's easier to show the map laterally rather than from north to south, as it were. And you can see there's lots of other things happening, like there's an encounter going on between a Ronin and a Taira general on towards the right of the screen there, but you can't do anything about that. You can't interact with it or interfere in any way, so you just have to be aware that it's happening. And now this Ronin is, oh yeah, here we go. Yoritomo is at Kyoto, so you get a different screen for this. You have to choose to visit the Emperor on the left hand side of the screen. And if the Emperor's sitting with one of the items to his left, then he's going to offer it to you. Otherwise, you get this. You are not worthy of this honour. And you can see that he does still possess two of the regalia. So the Taira haven't actually got one of them. So that's good news in a way. But haven't done enough to warrant being given one yet. And at this point the game begins to take a little bit of a turn for the worse, because Miura is encountering the Ronin now, so he's going to offer him an alliance, but because he's a red dotted Ronin, he's not interested. He's preparing to engage me in battle. And explain a bit more about the controls now. So you start off with the cursor as an arrow. If you click on your general, it begins the battle, and then if you double click, so left and right, it changes to a sword, and then if you hold the left mouse button, your infantry will head towards the mouse. And you can see on the right there that this general has got a lot more ability. He's got 4 bands on his sword and I've only got 2, and he's got 5 arrows in the sheath and I've only got 2. So he's slightly weaker in terms of troop numbers, but I've decided he's obviously beating me, so I've clicked on my general again to call a retreat. So I have now been defeated in that battle. So this is where things tells you how many. I've lost 80 of my warriors, so that's nearly all of them. I'm 12 archers, I think you have 16, so I came away with virtually nothing. And this is where the game sort of turns against me for a little while now. Yoritomo, similarly, has now encountered one of the Taira generals, and there's no point in messing around with them. As I said, you just got to engage them in battle straight away. They're never going to ally to you. And similar here, I'm slightly outclassed in terms of quality of my troops. As I say, this particular screen is my least favourite out of the whole game. It's quite hard to, you know, if you're outnumbered or outclassed, then you're not going to win the battle, no matter how much you try and position your troops strategically. They're just not gonna win. So similar things happening here. Tara are getting the better of me, so eventually I click on my general and sound the retreat. With Yoritomo, if you're too badly defeated, then he can be killed. So you obviously got to keep him alive to win the game. So you don't want to risk too many losses. So I'm going to try and get him moving back towards the right of the screen, back into friendly territory. Give Yoritomo a chance to recover. But you can see now Nagoya is being besieged by those Ronin. So I've got to do the same thing again and try and fend them off with my archery. And if you remember, my archers weren't particularly skilled. So I think that does make a bit of a difference in terms of accuracy. It's a lot harder to hit. I did find that with this particular. Looks to me like I'm on target, but don't seem to be hitting many of the enemy. I think this is a brilliant screen because it's impossible to hit everyone. You can see how they seem to be able to coordinate their wall climbing to make it impossible for you to be firing at two places at once or shooting at two places at once. And the more that get across, the more fighting there is going on the battlements. Right, so General went across and ordered another second wave, which isn't good news. Means he's prepared to invest more of his troops' lives in the attack. So he's obviously hopeful of success. There we go. The attack is over, but did he succeed, or did I manage to fight them off? And the answer is that he succeeded. So I've now lost the castle as well, so I've lost 2 battles in a row and one of the castles that I owned. So as I say, the game sort of turns against me briefly. So you can see there's now a different banner on Nagoya. So I'm going to get out of there, travel by ship back to Edo. Save the game at this point, I think. Yeah. On to another phase of the battle. Show you some other examples in a moment. Okay, so you've seen how you can defend a fortress, but what I want to show you now is how to actually lay siege to a fortress. So what I've just done is ordered one of my generals, Yoshinaka, to travel to Akita, which is the fortress currently held by the Taira, up in the top sort of mid-right part of the screen there. So you can see the general Yoshinaka with the black banner with the white stripes heading towards that fortress. And as I say, this will be an example about how you actually conquer a fortress, which we haven't seen yet. So just give him a little moment to get there. Another thing I should have mentioned as well about the fortresses is that they can actually spawn new generals. So enemy held fortresses, not your own unfortunately, but enemy held fortresses, if they're vacant but held by the enemy, they can actually sort of spawn new armies that are a problem for you. You can see the colour of the terrain changing slightly there, as we're now in sort of late December of 1180, I believe the year is at the moment. Just getting ready. Yoshinaka's just about to reach that fortress, and when he does, there we are. Yoshinaka's at Niigata. I said Akita, sorry. So you right click and then left click on the middle symbol there, and you now get the screen showing you the outside of Niigata. And we're going to demand the surrender, but they won't surrender, so we're going to siege the castle. And now you're controlling Yoshinaka on his own, and if you move the mouse in any direction, the figure will move in that way. Left click and he strikes a blow with his sword, so you can break a door down. Here we go, so left clicking with the mouse and he's knocking his way through that door there. And if you right click, which he just did then, he fires an arrow. Now it's a maze, and there are lots of different plans for the castles. They're not all the same, so you can't sort of familiarise yourself with the layout too easily. And what you have to do, I've struck lucky here, is you have to find the part of the castle which has got paths with stone borders, and that is the sort of keep area. And when you're in there, you've got to seek out the enemy commander, and you can tell who he is because he will have a sort of ornate decoration on his helmet, and there he is on the sort of middle bottom. So I can't hit him with an arrow from there because that wood is stopping me. And then I fire an arrow at him, kill him, and I've won possession of the keep. And I should have said as well that the sun symbol rises and falls, and that's the indication of how much time you've got to do it. So there we are, captured Niigata, wasn't it? Right, here we are a little bit further on in the game, and you can see Yoshinaka on the top of the screen there, heading towards Toyama, which has come under siege by, there's a Ronin army there besieging it, and there's nothing you can do about that. If you're not occupying a fortress, you just have to wait the outcome. And as you can see, Toyama has now been lost and the banner has changed. So I'm just looking at the strength of Shimazu there to see if I can now defeat him. But in the meantime, down the bottom of the screen, Yoritomo is in a ship making his way back to Nagoya to see if he can recapture that, having been expelled from it by the Taira earlier. So he is about to dock at Nagoya and lay siege to that fortress, and you'll see the difference in floor plans for the fortresses and the difficulty levels. I mean, some of them are really hard to find your way around the maze. So Yoritomo is at Nagoya, so we're going to demand the surrender, which they'll refuse to do. There we go, demand surrender. They won't surrender, so we siege the castle. You can see immediately this one's a completely different floor plan. Some of them have more archers defending them, some of them more masses of samurai attack you with the swords, but this one you have to run the gauntlet of a lot of archery. There is only one path at the moment, so it's not exactly a maze, but you've just got to persevere and keep going until you find that area with the cobbled paving, and then seek out the general in that area. And as I was saying earlier, the sun symbol at the top, it rises and then begins to decline, and that's an indication of how much time you've got to, perform this task. Depending on your strength and the number of troops you have, that will be longer or shorter. And there we are in the paved area now, so just got to find the general, and here's the one with the distinctive helmet. So there he is on the left there, and I shoot him with an arrow and he dies, and I've won the castle. So the banner there has now changed to my colours. And in the meantime, Yoshinaka is about to catch up with this Ronin. So we'll engage him in battle. It's worth offering them an alliance, but he's refused it. You can see I've got a much bigger force than him, so I'm sort of bound to win this. So the object really is to click on the general now, so that I can bring up that game where you're chasing the defeated general down and attempt to kill him and remove him from the game. Here we go. Just can't get my eye in here. It is really hard because you have to be constantly lining up your attack and watching for the obstacles that are coming up so that you don't ride into them. I just cannot cannot hit anything for a while in this particular game, and until you do so, there's no prospect of the enemy general appearing. So I've got to start inflicting some casualties soon.
nothing. There we go, got one. And another one. You can see from the blood on the sword that, and a third, that I didn't, haven't run anything down with the horse yet. I haven't actually done enough though to warrant getting an opportunity to kill the general, so the screen will just fade out soon, and I'll get the disappointing screen, the red screen, to show that I haven't done very well. There we go. Shimazu escapes. I bow my head in shame. But it does give me the opportunity now to retake this castle. So I'm laying siege to it, and you'll see a different floor plan again for this one. So as you can see, you have a choice. You just have to take your chance. First time anyway, if you go back, having failed the first time, you know to take a different route. If you enter the water, you drown immediately, so you have to avoid falling into the water. You can see this one is a little bit harder than the previous sieges that I've shown you. The sun's almost at its peak now, so I'm about halfway through my allotted time, and there's no sign of a keep area yet. So I've got a choice there whether I go up or to the right. I've chosen to go up. It was the right choice because there's the stone area on the left there, so one more door to get through, but time's beginning to run out. So now I've still got to find the commander with the markings on his helmet. Sometimes you just fire arrows indiscriminately and it will hit your target while he's off screen. There he is, down the bottom, and I've struck him with a sword and he's dead. So I was running out of time on that one, but I did manage to accomplish it. So that's just a couple more examples of some of the gameplay. It's now January the 16th, 1181. And we'll move on to a little bit later. Okay, the game's moved on, and Yoritomo's captured a few more castles and killed at least one enemy general, so thought it was a good time to revisit Kyoto and the Emperor and see if we can get him to reward us with one of the Imperial regalia. So Yoritomo is at Kyoto. And we're going to visit the Emperor. And there we go, there's a scroll there waiting for him to hand it over. You may have the sacred scroll. And there's now 2 symbols to our left there, showing we've got 2 of the regalia now. And he's still got the other 3rd one there, so an opportunity to get that later in the game. Okay, it's now July 1181. Things aren't going too well. Yoshitsune has turned on me, which means I'm now at war with my brother, and he's about to besiege Nagoya, and it's crucial that I hang on to this, even though I'm weaker than his army. It's crucial that I kill off a lot of these attackers and fend off his attack on the castle. Otherwise, I've already lost Edo, so I've got to do really well here in order to hang on in the game. So, did I do it? Yes, did. So I managed to salvage that situation. But now, still got to get Edo back urgently. You can see there, it's in red, so it's owned by the Tyro at the moment. And I've got Miura close by. He's at Mito, just to the right, and even though he's not at full strength, I'm going to send him in a moment. Here we go. I'm ordering him to try and retake Edo. He's already had 1 failed attempt, so I've got a good idea of what direction the keep is in. So rather than let that Tyra general increase his strength by a long stay in Edo. I think I'm going to attack it now. Make a sort of desperate attempt to get it back. There's Yoritomo. So he's in not very good state either. He made an unsuccessful attempt to capture Shimonoseki, which is just on the left of the screen there, failed. And he's now trying to make his way back to more friendly territory so that he can get to one of his castles and recover. So Miura's about to reach Edo, and I'm helped because the Taira General decides to leave rather than remain. It's just one of those random artificial intelligence things that didn't respond to the threat. So I've got a clear run at besieging Edo without any occupying force in the way. So, and as I say, I've already tried once and failed, so I've got a better idea now of which way to go. So I tried left before, so I'm going to go towards the right this time. There's the cobbled stone line pathway, so I know I've reached the keep area. So same as usual, I've just got to find the general now. And there he is, just above me. So all I've got to do is shoot an arrow at him and he's dead. So I've retaken Edo. Lost a lot of men doing it, 42 men, but victorious. So the game's not looking too bad again now. Okay, it's now October 1181 and there's about to be a turning point in the game. In the centre of the screen there you can see the white banner of Yoshitsune attempting to besiege a Taira fortress, and what's about to happen is he's about to be killed. There you go, Yoshitsune was killed, and because he was the Minamoto clan, all his fortresses and his two generals, like Satake there, now are controlled by Yoritomo. So at one at one fell swoop, I've gained possession of a lot of important fortresses and two additional generals, so that changes the whole balance of the game. I mean, in particular, Osaka, which I now control, is a really kind of strategic and powerful fortress. Anyway, this is Miura. Might as well show you this as well. He is at Akita trying to get them to surrender, and they won't, so I'll show you the siege of Akita while we're at this point. So this is a Tara-owned fortress that was captured from Yoshitsune's Minamoto branch. So it was temporarily in my possession, theoretically anyway. So I'm just claiming it back now. Again, you can see a completely different floor plan as well, so I've no idea whether this is the correct route, but it obviously is, because there are the stone-lined pavements, and the general is on the left there, so all I've got to do now is fire arrows until I kill him like that. And Akita is in my possession as well. So the game is now going really well for me. November the 4th, 1181. Right, now it's the end of 1181, beginning of 1182, and I've just moved Noriyori, one of the generals who came over to my side once Yoshitsune had died. He's leaving Osaka and he's moving towards Himeji to try and capture that fortress. And Himeji was incredibly difficult to capture. So I thought what I would do is just show you the side by side the number of attempts that I made to solve this particular maze, and just run it without any narration and allow you to see whether you would have solved the problem faster than I did. I'm sure you would have done, because I made some pretty stupid mistakes and errors. But anyway, I'll just count I'll put up a caption counting the number of times I attempt it, but I won't give any narration. So here we go. Okay, just want to show you another element of the game, which is the princess attempting to rescue the princess. So she is held, as you can see here, the princess is here, in one of the Tyra castles, and you have to find her, and then she will follow you, but you have to keep her safe, and it's quite hard to do. She can be killed just with one arrow or sword strike, and then you either got to escort her back to the entrance, or she follows you all the way to the citadel and the killing of the general, but it's really hard to do, and if you fail, then the Tyra will move her to a different fortress, so you have to go looking for her again. So this is the first example of where I come across her, and as you can see, I've found the paved area, but I don't want to go in there because that will capture the fortress, and I want to find the princess first of all. So I've kind of ignored the tempting area, and I'm looking in other areas to see if I can find the princess. And there she is, she's in grey against the well there, and unfortunately, as you can see, she went to follow me, and one of the guards has managed to kill her. So I've decided, as she's going to be moved anyway, and I've got a fair amount of time left, I'm going to go into the citadel area, the keep area, and try and capture the castle, because saving the princess is a lost cause now. And there's the general, and I managed to kill him, so at least I've got the captured fortress out of it. And here's another example where this time you don't even get to see the princess, because unfortunately what happens is that I enter the castle and fire off a few arrows. Here we go. So I fire off a few arrows, and the third one actually takes a while to hit, and you hear a female scream. And I immediately know that I've accidentally killed the princess myself this time. So in this case, I've got no option again but to go on and try and find the keep area and capture the castle again. Because once again, the princess won't be there next time I visit the castle, so I might as well capture it while I'm here. She was probably on that island there. There we go, there's the general, and he's dead. So I've got another castle. Okay, now here's a third example. In this case, it's much further on in the game, and the Tyra only have one fortress remaining, so the princess is bound to be in there, and there's nowhere else for her to be moved. So what I've been doing is making several attempts to find her, and not going on to try and seize the castle, because basically I want to rescue the princess in order to gain that part of the imperial regalia. So this is another attempt. So far, this is about my 4th attempt, and so far I haven't managed to even locate her. So just having another go. Unfortunately, what happens, I think I mentioned this already early on in this video, is that there's a glitch at the end of the game where I can't continue with the game. So the game doesn't go on very much further than this, but I thought I would show you this final example. Right, so I hadn't explored down this path before, and in fact I've come across the princess just at the bottom of the screen shortly. So she's off to my right, so to about the middle of the screen, and in between a pair of bushes. There she is now, the female in grey. But unfortunately, I've taken so many wounds and run out of time that I end up being defeated before I can even reach her. And just to show you that also towards the end of the game, Yoritomo revisited the Emperor in Kyoto and was rewarded with that 3rd item of Imperial regalia, the sword. There we go. So there's only the princess to complete the 4 items. And just to show you, this is the glitch at the end. Basically, it's the first time that this has happened in the game, that one of the enemy, and it has to be the only Tyra general still on the map, who's called Tachibana, who was spawned by the castle, so he wasn't actually an original general in the game. He's obviously hired a ninja to attack me, and what should happen is that you go to a sequence where you're facing the ninja at the end of a corridor, and you have to fend off his weapons as he throws them at you. But there's clearly something wrong here, and I try several times to replay this, reload the game from earlier save position, but the same thing happens every time, so I had to end the game at that point. So unfortunate, but just want to go on now and talk a little bit about comparison of playing this game on the Amiga 500 and on the A500 Mini.
Okay, now I am very fortunate in that this is probably my all-time favourite game on the Amiga 500, and also I'm a big fan of the new A500 Mini. I think it's fantastic. And as I say, I'm very lucky because I think that this game transfers very well from the Amiga 500 to the A500 Mini. A lot of people have been remarking that some of the games, their old favourites that they download from WHD Load to try and play on the A500 Mini, play much too fast, and there are ways of fixing that, and I'm sure Retro Games will get around to putting a permanent fix on their site for it, but there's no need with this particular game. It seems to play at exactly the right speed. Now, the other fortunate thing is that the A500 Mini does have some, does have its downsides. One of them being that it doesn't have a keyboard; it just has a virtual keyboard, and that does make it difficult to play some games that require the use of a lot of keys, especially things like combination of keys, like holding down the shift whilst you press the letter and so on. Again, with this particular game, all you need to play it is a mouse. The keyboard, you could use the keyboard on the Amiga 500 to do things like save your position in the game and so on. But of course, with the A500, you're not saving to the floppy disks inside. On the Amiga 500, you would make a copy of Reel 2. There we are. There's a copy of it, and save onto this. But obviously, you're not doing that with the A500 Mini. So the only reason you would need the keyboard is to save the game on the original, and you don't need that now. So you don't need a keyboard. All you need is the mouse, and it plays, as I say, at exactly the right speed. So absolutely ideal. The one thing that I'm not sure about even now, thinking about it, is that glitch at the end. Whether that is a glitch that is attributable to the method of downloading the game from WHD Load, or whether it's a glitch on the original software. It's the first time it's ever happened to me. I don't remember it ever happening with the original game, and I can remember lots of ninja attacks. Basically, there's a small image there. You probably won't be able to make it out very well, but that's an image of the scene when the ninja attacks, and he's basically at the end of the corridor throwing stars at you, which you have to deflect with your sword. And I can remember doing that a lot in the old game and never having the problem. But the circumstances at the end of this particular game that I've just shown you were that there was only one Tyra general left on the table, on the board, on the map, or whatever you want to call it, and he had been spawned by the castle towards the end of the game. He wasn't there at the beginning of the game, and if the ninja attack fails, he is forced to commit seppuku. So was that a problem with the original software, that they hadn't factored that scenario into the software, that a general that was spawned by the castle then is eliminated, and the game is essentially over because you've annihilated all the generals and there was only that one castle left to grab. I don't know. Could be either. I tried going back to restore point and playing the game over again, from that 5 minutes or so earlier, and it did play differently, but wherever I was, wherever Yoritomo was on the table, it always ended up with the ninja attempting to attack and that flashing screen again. So it wasn't simply that position in the game. It was something to do with the programming. But great shame, because I would eventually have rescued the princess and achieved got all four regalia and captured all the castles. So I would have, it would have been a massive kind of win. But it wasn't to be. But anyway, I'm really enjoying playing this game again. It's bringing back lots of memories. Really enjoying the A500 Mini, and I hope that you enjoyed my sort of review of the game and a description of the gameplay and some hints on how to play it. Thanks very much for watching. Bye for now. Oh yeah, sorry, I should say as well that some of the things that you do miss from the A500 is the sort of physical books and so on, and there is a map in here. Gives you a little description of each city, so that you can find your way around on this map rather than look on the screen if you wanted. And it's got a description keys, to what all the various items and icons are. And then this is the only Amiga 500 game I know where, I mean, obviously the programmers and the authors of this game had a real interest in the period. It's a work of care on their part, but it's the only Amiga 500 game I know that actually has a bibliography at the end of it with suggested reading on Japanese history and so on. Really kind of goes the sort of full, the full distance in terms of trying to interest you in the period, and it certainly did me. But the one thing that I don't miss, that I think the A500 Mini has got a big advantage on, is that you were constantly having to swap these discs over. So it held up the gameplay a lot. So I don't know. I mean, you could have got around that with having an extra disk drive or something like that, but I never did. So there's pluses and minuses to the actual quality of the game. But I think I'm better off with the A500 Mini, as long as that Ninja glitch was just the one-off and isn't going to repeat itself in future games. Anyway, as I say, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and see you on the next video. Bye for now.